Yeah, I agree. Hi, welcome to the show before the show. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, your local game guy, and with me is Will. Hey, Will.
So,
Also your local game guy. You can refer to either of us as your local game guy, and you are a local game guy or girl, whomever's watching right now. Welcome.
and we are the local game group.
Yes, exactly. That's the idea. That's the idea. So we're going to be discussing, in case you couldn't tell, what is even Magic the Gathering. So there's universes within, and then there's universes beyond, right? And that's the universes within just covers the stuff that's in the universes beyond, but then makes it appropriate for the wizard fans, I guess. But if you're a Whovian, well, get excited because we got a bunch of spoils from Doctor Who. We're going to receive, being MTG brand ambassadors, so many spoils from the set that I'll very anxious to see and check out because of some of the announcements from the set. Because the one Doctor we've seen so far is actually really good, so I hope the others follow suit. But we're also going to cover the 10 new cards from each precon. So this will cover the rest of Commander Masters that we honestly didn't discuss. I don't think anything was announced that wasn't. I don't think anything was announced that was worth covering that we missed from our last Untapped podcast. So you
It was
didn't.
just like five more cards, and none of them were too relevant. So
Yeah.
we're moving on to the commander stuff or
Mhm.
the deck stuff.
Oh, let me just make sure that this live stream is working. I don't think it is on my end yet, but let me check it out.
I will also check it just to be safe.
Okay, now it says we're live. Hey, for some reason the chat wasn't working earlier, so if you'd like, feel free to send a comment. Let us know that it's working. Send your love or your hate, either one. I'll take it. But again, the run of show is just going to be Doctor Who stuff, and then any and all CMM stuff we missed. But how are you guys? I have a couple of things here that I want to open and look at because this finally came in. Not a sponsor, Card Kingdom. You should really buy from the affiliate link to TCG Player. But this is the rest of my Oswald deck, which I'm very excited to see.
We can talk about that while people trickle in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we could take a. Whoa, my God! This is the
Oh
first
my God,
time.
what?
This is the first time this has happened.
Oh, they gave you a token? Oh, that's broken. Oh,
It's completely crushed.
holy crap.
Yeah, there's
Thanks,
like
UPS.
yeah,
Pulling
there's
a what is that called? The air marshal packaging maneuver of just boom, the cart or the thing to the mailbox.
dude, yeah, there's so many like little pieces. Here, I'm gonna make sure I don't get any more on me. That was fun. Hi, Michael. Hi, three-story book brawler. How are you guys doing? I have a poll ongoing right now. I'm inquiring about which set you're most excited for because we're going to be discussing it all here on the channel. But the poll has Doctor Who, Wilds of Eldraine, and The Lost Caverns of Ixalan, which I believe is actually the order in which they should be coming out as well. But Will, what are you most excited about? It looks like Doctor Who is leading the pack, which is incredible. Like I'm super happy to see that.
Uh, I cannot wait to see more Eldrazi stuff and all that, or to see the Eldraine stuff, just because Eldraine is a very cool set. But
Mhm.
Doctor Who is really awesome. Like the things that we've gotten so far, the fact that we're getting spoilers, another partner mechanic, and just the cards themselves are very interesting because I love suspend counter stuff and all the time counter stuff. So this is perfect for me.
Isn't there like a Joyra you could potentially manipulate with some of these new cards? Like a
Yep,
Joy.
the OG Joyra has pay to suspend three a card in your hand.
Okay. I mean, I
Not the
don't.
exact wording, but the closest that you'll get to the exact wording.
Right. Do you imagine that this will bring her? Well, I mean, we haven't seen anything from the set that really favors her, but hopefully this will make her even more playable.
Yep, because I think we've gotten four cards from this set so far, like four actual cards,
Mm-hmm.
and one of
Ooh.
them, or two of them, are pretty good for Joyra. So I like it. Oh, nice, nice,
Nice. I got the Reprieve in there. Got the Clock of Omens in there. Oop.
nice.
All foily, oily. Got Sting. Had to get the cheesy one. Why is this
Sting
so
is such
hard
a
for
cool
me?
card.
Sting is a cool card, and it's actually a good card. And then I got the Scrap Troll of the Soul. I got a Soul Ring, one of these old border foil
Yeah,
Soul Rings.
you got the good scrap trawler too. I love that.
Yeah, I did. I thought this would be foil. Sadly, it's not. This for Annex entry, but they can all be foil, I guess.
Yeah. Also, if you want a really fancy soul ring, I have one of the. It's probably closer to like $30 now, but I have one of the OG soul rings that isn't one of the $200 ones.
How do you mean? The
Let me see what set that it was because I got a soul ring from a raffle that was one of the flaming soul rings from way back in the day, but I don't know the name of the set that it came from.
did they come out in alpha beta as well? I forget.
I don't know, but I'm gonna quickly look it up to see which soul ring it is.
I am excited
Um,
to throw these in my deck. I had no idea how this scroll was gonna look, but it actually looks really cool. This completed foiling. These all came out pretty good. Yeah, these old border foil soul rings though are fantastic. Like I actually really like Mike's art on the soul ring, so like I'm happy to have this version of it. I have like a hand painted extended one, but oddly I'm more a fan of just seeing brown borders on my artifacts.
you have to pop your artifacts in the toaster to properly brown them.
Yes, exactly.
Also, I think it might have been a revised soul ring, but
Even still,
yeah, it's gone down from its previous price. Interesting. Okay.
I wonder why that is. It's not like there's any more of those in the world.
Yeah, I mean it's Soul Ring. There's always more printings of Soul Ring. There's different arts and stuff like that. So it's like the revised one is not the fancy one anymore because there's 2 million different types of Soul Rings that have alternate art and foilings and all that.
True, just true. All right. I think with this plastic removed from my place, we should be good to go. But we're gonna start again with Doctor Who. Feel free to tag along on that poll. I'm curious to see what's what with the players and their interest in this game right now. I know Commander Master's not everyone's favorite set. We're gonna be discussing it in depth with some videos on the channel. I'd love to hear some more from you guys on your thoughts on Commander Masters. If you're going to be buying into any of the product, or if you're just going to be buying singles, it's usually my recommendation, anyways. But the set itself did have some really solid reprints, so we want to discuss those in depth, and we're going to be doing that with our MTG Ambassador programming. But to get to it, I'm just going to go from the bottom up, Will, just to look over some of the art from this new Who set.
Yep, yep.
So MagicSpoiler.com has listed everything that was just recently announced for the set. Outside of the illustrations here that we're going to be checking out, like, so if you're a fan of Doctor Who, you're going to enjoy this art. Most of this art will be featured in the set. I mean, I don't think any of this is for purely promotional purposes. It'll either be on a land or some card. And we actually have seen the card for the 10th Doctor, which we'll get to in a second. I've never seen Doctor Who, though, so I have a separate community post out just asking, have you watched Doctor Who, Will?
I've watched clips. I have never watched the actual show, but I've watched enough of the highlights that I do actually know a fairly good amount about it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I tried watching from season one, and I gotta say, like, maybe it aged better, but that first season was really tough to watch. For some,
Yeah.
I just couldn't get into it, but I wouldn't mind jumping back in. I don't know if there's an actual existing timeline with the show or not, but it sounds like people had suggestions as to how to watch it when I
Yeah.
left that community post up. So I'm curious if there are any Whovians in the audience, like which season's your favorite, what season would you start with, or if there's a particular order I should watch. But
I personally like watching from the 10th Doctor onwards, because did you watch from like the really old Doctor Who stuff, or did you start with the ninth Doctor who's the like leather jacket kind of interesting guy?
right, so I hear a lot of people say to start from the ninth one onwards, and I started with the very first season. So I tried to watch from the very, very beginning. not successful.
Yeah,
What?
it's an old retro show back then, so understandable. But
But you like
the
the 10th
yeah,
Doctor?
the ninth onward is when they rebooted it and brought it back, and it was pretty good. I was not the biggest fan of the series when the ninth Doctor was in, but I loved the tenth onward. Tenth onward was fantastic. I've not seen anything with the new Doctor though. I think she's the 13th,
Hmm.
but haven't seen anything from that because I watched as the episodes were coming out for the 12th Doctor, and then when it had its 3-ish year hiatus, I was just like, okay, I check out.
A 3-ish year hiatus.
Yeah. So,
What?
because I think part of it was because of COVID and everything, but it just took a while for them to get everything set up again and start
Mm.
recording. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna, I'll dip from here. It was a good enough show. If it ended on the 12th Doctor, I'd be fine with that ending. Don't know anything about the 13th Doctor.
Gotcha. I think she's in this, by the way. In Barty Crouch Jr., which I believe is the 10th Doctor. Actually, wait, it says. Okay, so first things first, with Doctor Who, we get a flavorful partners with mechanic. So we get Doctor's Companion. You can have two commanders if the other is a Doctor subtype. So you'll notice when we get to the actual card, it'll say Doctor and it's subtyping. Um, I'm assuming that this will be in the text box of their companion, and it'll just state Doctor's Companion with some reminder text. There were talks about if this would work with changelings. I don't
Yeah,
think so.
and
I don't think
I
so.
I don't believe it will because the reason why people thought it would potentially work with changelings is because of Grist. And Grist says Grist is treated as a creature everywhere except the battlefield.
Right.
So people thought, oh, so this can be your commander because the it would be a creature in the command zone. So therefore it's a legal commander. But
Mhm.
that wasn't actually how that worked because it's a pre-game effect basically. So all the static abilities of your cards aren't active, meaning Grist was not a creature anywhere because the game hadn't started yet. So while you're building your deck, Grist would not be treated as a creature, therefore could not be a legal commander. So the question is, will Changeling be active? And the answer is no. So there's a rules change to make Grist legal. I don't think that affects the Changeling at all. So I don't think you can do a partner pair with the Changeling. But
Namely Orvar.
yeah, yeah. But if it does work, holy crap, Orvar is about to become a monster.
Right. Exactly. I can only imagine. Well, we need to see like what our companions are, but I have to imagine that they'll be less expensive than the doctors, right? And then they're going to be complementary colors. So,
I
and
mean,
likely a single color. Like I don't think they're going to extend beyond go up to 4 colors like they did with the original partners.
yeah, I think that's just going to be like one color per because if you look at the one doctor that we're going to be looking at eventually, it's a really good card already. You don't need much else. So I don't think that they're going to add a ton of extra colors. I don't think that we're going to get terribly powerful effects off of the partner or doctor's companion creatures. But
Hmm.
I don't think Orvar cares. I think if there's like a 10 mana 1/1 white partner that partnered with Orvar, Orvar would run that and not care. Just have it in the command zone.
Seriously. But this is cool. I didn't notice this until just now. But these commander decks state which doctors you get in the on the box. Like that's really cool. I'm assuming that this doctor is probably one of the more popular ones, but it says the first 8 doctors are in this one commander deck. And hi guys, and Michael Sagi says I love Doctor Who. That's good to hear. Like I'm glad because honestly, stuff like this when you do mixed universe content for any game, or if it's just an IP like that I'm unaware of, if I enjoy the game I'm playing that IP in, I get invested in the IP as well. Like I mention One Piece all the time here because I'm playing it now. I know they're coming up on the finale of that show. It's been one of the longest standing Shonen Jump mangas. It's a long running TV series. It has several films. And I'm getting into all of it now because I love the card game. And I hope when that show ends that they continue to put life into this card game as well because I enjoyed the game for its mechanics and then I just happen to enjoy One Piece now. Doctor Who, honestly, I could see myself getting, and that's why I'm bringing up all these questions, because it is something I've genuinely wanted. It's one of those cultural phenomenon that I haven't jumped on or into, namely because it wasn't really popular stateside when it was prominent. But now with streaming services the way they are and content the way it is, everything's more accessible. So I've been wanting to watch Doctor Who again and like really give it a fair shake. So I want to give it the best opportunity to, you know, uh, be enjoyable for myself, I guess is what I'm saying. I feel like looking at it now, though, I would enjoy it much better. I think I was in college when I started watching it. It was years ago. So, and I barely had time for like anything outside of work and then schoolwork. So what I put my time into was very important to me. And at the time, it was not Doctor Who, but I would totally jump into it now. We also have Doctors 9, 10, and 11 right here with Barty Crouch Jr., the timey-wimey. I'm assuming he's the face commander then for this particular commander deck, because timey-wimey is his, like, his flavor
Timey-wimey, wibbly wobbly.
I like this actor, though. Is he good in Doctor Who? You said you've seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is it? I think 10, 11, and 12 are my three favorite Doctors out of all of them. It's like a very difficult tie between 10 and 12 for my favorite of all time.
10 and 12. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I might start with 9 just because, and then get into, because I want to watch this guy's performance in the show. We have the Doctor's Greatest Villains. So this is going to be like a menagerie of villains, I'm assuming, and are actually getting what our companions are ultimately going to be, right? Right. So we know that is it for the 10th Doctor, so it will likely be White for his partner. And then there should be other companions, ideally, in all of these boxes. So it's nice that it's not partners with, too, so they don't have any sort of exclusivity with the Doctor of their season, which is really nice. So you'll be able to mix and match these sets. Really smart, Wizards. Really smart. But that's the idea. And then our last box is Doctors 12 and 13. Really getting some love there, because the other Doctor, 1 through 8, share a whole commander deck. But then 12 and 13 have their own commander deck, which is kind of sick.
I will say 1 through 18 is like the first series, so they were all together.
Okay,
so it makes sense. I can give that credence.
That's fair. There's also Planes cards. I've never played Planes Chase, so I'm assuming that the mechanics are all the same for this. So if we want to look at this, we can, but I'll probably briefly go over TARDIS Bay, just looking at the art. I'll let you guys read the text. Are you a fan of playing with planes? Like, I don't know how this format works. Is it exclusive to like 4-player, or could you do 1v1 with planes? I assume so, right?
Yeah, it's whatever you want to do with planes. You can pretty much just take a game mode and add planes to them if you really want, and then just add a couple of the planes cards to that game mode if you want. In Commander, all the planes cards are already legal for the most part. It's just none of them are playable except for maybe the what is it, Fractured Power Stone, the 2-mana one that taps for a mana or taps to roll the planar die.
I mean, I'd love to play with planes, honestly. It's one of those mechanics I have not tested or tried, but it's up there for me. And the art for some of these look amazing. But I love complementary, like, expansions like this to games I really enjoy. Like, there's a game, if you've never played Takedo, it's one of the best board games ever made, in my opinion. And then there's an expansion for it that's called Crossroads. That's kind of same-ish in the sense. It just adds mechanics to the core mechanics that enhance the playability of that game. I'm assuming planes work essentially like that. It's just a separate deck.
Yeah, it's the DLC. Yeah, it's the DLC for any Magic format that you want to keep playing in.
There's our first card here called The Parting of the Ways, which is 4 generic double red enchantment saga. It has lure 1. Exile the top 5 cards of your library. For each non-land card exiled this way, put a number of time counters on that card equal to its mana value. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. So, cool way to cheat out a Lion's Eye Diamond. I don't know. Well, it's for each non-land card. Wow, so you're suspending a lot for 6. I would really hope so. Uh, Lore 2 is time travel, then time travel. I believe time travel allows you to remove suspend counters.
Correct. We can probably skip up. Or actually, I'll read off the 10th Doctor, and you can stay where you are on the page.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, time travel says for each suspended card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter on it, you may add or remove a time counter. So that's what time travel says.
Hmm.
So it's just for things with time counters on them, add or remove. That's it.
So Stephen says Plane Chase is awesome. It's like having a chaos deck in every game you play. Honestly, I like that. Like I like it. I don't know. There's Commander is ultimately a casual format, so I wouldn't mind adding a little chaos to that. It can only enhance the fun, unless it gets, single-sided and like who those effects hurt or help. For each opponent, destroy up to 1 target artifact that player controls as a 3rd effect. That's okay. I mean, that's a red thing to do, but that just seems okay. I would honestly, it would be kind of cool to get something that just suspends permanence. Like you could, I don't know, like just take it off the field for a little while.
Like suspend
Right.
one blue.
Right. I mean, maybe we will see that. I mean, I feel like we're obviously going to see some form of that here. I don't know if it's going to extend to red though, but destroying an artifact is fine. I feel like artifacts are generally the worst of the permanents you'll find, that or enchantments. Well, that's a lie. Creatures are getting worse and worse. So that's the parting of ways. It's fine. I can't say that it's going to be something you'll immediately want to play. We have exterminate for 2 generic
I
and a
I
oh.
do really quickly want to say something for parting of ways that's kind of fun. If you run a bunch of permanent flickers in your deck, you can
Mm,
probably have parting of ways slowly exile your entire deck. So that's just a cool thing to think about if someone wants to try doing that.
right. Uh, okay. Yeah, that's a weird way to that's a weird way to pump out your deck, but it is a way to pump out your deck. I wish that it had like read ahead, because then you could flicker it, exile, you suspend your deck, then flicker it, read to the second lore. Do you know what I mean? And be
Yeah,
able
well,
to
I mean,
just push it.
you do that anyways because with this it's ETB, you exile the 5 cards. The next turn you remove 3 time counters from all of your suspend cards and then flicker this, which then ETB exiles 5 cards. So every turn you're going 5 deeper into your deck or
Mm,
more.
that's true. That's true. I think the setup cost is high, but there is playability here. I mean, it's a permanent that's doing a thing, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not bad. I like seeing BBC down there. We have Exterminate for 2 generic and a black. Sorcery, it has Replicate. Tap an untapped Dalek you control. Dalek? Destroy.
Dalek is, I think, how they pronounce it. I've most people say Darlek, which is, it's a fair pronunciation because it sounds correct.
Darlek? Is that, I guess that's just how that L would
That's
sound.
how it sounds like people pronounce it in the show, but it's like Dalek is what it is.
Okay. I'm gonna go with,
Exterminate, exterminate.
I'm gonna go with Darlik. So it destroys target creature. Its controller loses 3 life. So for 3 mana, you'd expect something decent. The fact that it can replicate itself though is pretty awesome, and you'll see that the Darlik is a active like token in the game. I think it's a 3/3. I don't know if we have a way to make them quite yet, but you'll see them in just a second. Some of the art for these tokens are amazing. The food token in particular. So there's alien insects. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, you will likely get these references better than I. But it's a green white flying 1/1. Okay, that's fine. This is my favorite art from the set so far. That's been spoiled. Ben Wooden's food token. It's like this guy is just in this perfect Pyrex glass bowl, is dipping a lady's finger into some sort of custard. I don't know what this reference is, but this is the best food token to date. Easily the best food token. It looks so damn cool. But like a lady's finger is some form of cookie or biscuit, I should say. Yeah, looks amazing.
And then
Daff.
also, you did the Daleks dirty because they're 3/3s with menace.
Oh shit.
They're menacing.
Okay, so we got a clue, and then I think there you go. There's your Darlik. Token artifact creature Darlic 3/3 with menace is actually really good. A 3/3 is fine, like face value. A 3/3 with menace is really good. This thing is menacing. In the show, is it actually menacing? Because this looks like
Yeah,
a
they're like the like quote unquote zombies of the show because they're these things that you basically cannot kill. They move super slow, and if they see you, you're probably getting disintegrated.
really.
Yeah, like they're immortal trash cans that shoot a laser that turns you into ash in like a second, less than that probably.
Yeah,
So and they
they
have a
look.
force field that's pretty much indestructible except by other Daleks.
It's a fish stick, not a ladyfinger, says Harley Quinn. Is that a fact? Oh, it is breaded and seasoned like a fish stick. You're right. Is he dipping it in like a pudding? What is he dipping it in? Or is that a
I think
tell me that's like a Dijon or some sort of.
it might be mayo. That's what I think.
Please let me know, Harley. I'm curious. Michael says Davros will probably make Daleks, and that would make
Yeah,
sense
he's
then.
he's the father of the Daleks. He's the one that makes them in the show, so makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, they look so goofy though, I gotta say. It looks
Yeah,
like there's like a plunger on its right or left.
yeah. You just need to like watch Dalek highlights from Doctor Who. Just look that up online at some point, and then watch like a 2 minute compilation, and you'll get what they are and why they're supposed to be menacing.
Okay.
But
Um,
basically, like the military rolls up on them and unloads on like two of them, and then they just slowly scoot out of the smoke, and they proceed to wipe out the entire military in 2 seconds.
all
Yeah,
right.
it's like that is the equivalent of how terrifying they are. It's just like, oh yeah, do. Therefore, people are dead.
So it's fish fingers and custard. Thank you for clearing that up for me.
There we go.
That's
Oh
disgusting.
yeah, that is right. It is custard.
That's just this guy's
I can't
favorite
remember.
snack.
I can't remember specifically what scene it is, but I think that was the 11th Doctor.
Mm. He's just a fan of fish sticks and custard.
He does it in like one scene, and then he references it for like
The rest of them.
probably 3 episodes after that. I
Okay.
think.
So next up we have the TARDIS, and now I'm aware of this. There's some cool art for the TARDIS as well, but it's a too generic, uncommon 2/4 artifact vehicle flying. When TARDIS attacks, if you control a Time Lord, you'll also notice that the Doctors are subtype Time Lord. The next spell you cast this turn has Cascade, and you may Planeswalk. Oh, okay, so it's crew 2. That's easy enough. I'm assuming that most of our companions with Doctors will be able to crew this. Okay, so the next spell having Cascade, face value. Is that good?
Yeah, that's useful in a lot of different decks because in let's say cEDH. In cEDH, you're probably going to be casting a one cost spell, so this is going to hit your mana crypt a lot of the time, and you're
Mm-hmm.
happy with that. So I think that this is an interesting card. Its best use is probably going to be in Magda because you have Universal Automaton, which will be a Time Lord for this. So you'll get the
Yeah.
Cascade in Magda, and it's also just a tap engine in Magda. So
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's like a interesting and decent card. I don't know if it's going to be played everywhere, but Magda will try it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she would. It's a 2/4 too. That's not so bad.
I also love the alternate art for it just because it's the blue police box.
Yeah,
And the whole card is the blue police box. It's fantastic.
it's amazing. I think they copied that the box for our Doctor art. So you'll notice that. Am I wrong? No, yeah, it is. We'll look at the standard version, but the 10th Doctor for 3 generic and is it mythic rare 3/5 body legendary creature Time Lord Doctor, right? So I'm assuming all of the Doctors will probably be Time Lords as well. Alonzi, whenever you attack, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. Put 3 time counters on it. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. Then you have Timey-Wimey for 7 generic, time travel 3 times. Activate only as a sorcery. So Will already went over time travel, how that functions. This
Yep,
is
yep.
interesting. You want to do an all lands build.
Effectively, yeah. So first off, I gotta say, the set's cracked because we got Patrick to say timey wimey.
Yeah,
So
there's that.
yeah. But the the dumb thing you can do with this deck, because I'm the guy that always looks to see if you can brew another cEDH deck that has over 75 lands in it, and this deck can do it. If you're running just extra turn spells, including Nexus of Fate and Beacon of Tomorrow, you'll be able to inevitably take infinite combats with the 10th Doctor. Because once you swing for the third time, you'll have an extra turn spell with 1, 2, and 3 time counters on it. Then you take an extra turn, get another extra turn spell, repeat, 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 until you eventually have 7 mana. Then you just go attack, get an extra turn spell, remove all 3 counters, take an extra turn, repeat, 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 and
Timey
you just
wimey.
you start beating people down with your timey wimey wibbly wobbly BS.
Right, and who knows what our companion for this Time Lord Doctor does, because it can only add to that pie, right?
Yep,
Especially
yep.
particularly if it has some form of evasion. Because then you could just send the Doctor at whomever the Doctor can reasonably attack, and then have the evasive attacker hit everyone else. But in an ideal world, like, there'd be some sort of ramped utility as a as a companion, and you just add that to this list, and you'll be able to get there that much quicker. But
Yeah.
it's not bad. I don't think 5 CMC is that tough to hit, but you are limited on the amount of things you can put in this deck if you're trying to go for,
Yeah,
if
for
you're trying
that
to
extra
hit the
turn weird thing.
right.
I'd say you can get away with running probably the permanent mana rocks that make a good amount of mana for you. Like you can probably run Thran Dynamo Soul Ring Mana Crypt, and that would probably be your best option for everything.
Mhm.
Because your goal is to just get the Doctor out, hit 7 mana, win the game. Even Worn Power Stone might be good enough.
Tim Rogers says World Fire.
Yes. Now I will also add, this Doctor is just good as commander in general, even for cEDH, because you could just start suspending really good things by using top deck tutors, and this is getting you an extra card every turn in air quotes because you're always going to be hitting something, and it's going to be like a mini Crom.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's good.
More or less, and it puts you in red and blue, right? And I think the set with him, the third color was white. So,
Yep.
speaking of top deck tutors, you get enlightened tutor minimally, or Moonblessed Cleric. There's a handful of things you can toss in here if you really wanted to with white.
Yeah, and then I think one of the other decks is going to add a green companion, and then or I'll say partner. I think one of the other decks is adding a green partner, which is going to be useful. And I think the Doctor's greatest villains might add a black partner, because fun fact in the show for anyone who doesn't know Doctor Who, uh, kind of spoilers. So if you want to watch Doctor Who, but you don't want to get something that's like a little bit of a notable spoiler, but not going to ruin the series for you, you can probably mute me for about 20 seconds. Um, so one of the show's recurring villains is known as the Master. It's basically the evil counterpart of Doctor Who, which is a Time Lord that wants to just cause chaos slash do whatever the crap he wants to do slash take over the world. Uh, when the Doctor dies, he reincarnates. When the Master dies, he reincarnates. One of his reincarnations is a character known as Missy, who eventually just kind of says, you know what? I keep having to deal with the Doctor. Fuck it. I'm gonna have the Doctor take over the world and basically give the world to the Doctor to see what the Doctor will do with it. So Missy was a companion with the Doctor for a while plotting and scheming to try to give the world over to the Doctor. So Missy may be a companion, and that would probably be a black companion if I'd guess. So yeah,
Hmm. Whoa, that sounds dope. Wait. Okay. So you could see that being in the villain list, that
yeah,
just being a tag along card.
yeah.
Oh,
If I'd
that's
guess, I'd say that Missy could be a tag along, like a companion for the Doctor. I don't know for a fact. They may just say Missy's primarily a villain, so no, and I get that.
Yeah, that would be really flavorful though, and it would put the 10th Doctor in Grixis, mind
Yeah.
you. just saying, if you guys don't know, that's a pretty powerful trip color list right there. Just by virtue of the fact you get all
I've
the
heard that
tutors.
it does good things, and also adding black to your cheat cards deck is really good when
Oh,
you have Imperial
MCL.
Seal and Vamp Tutor, and then PETA and all that.
Hmm. They don't have companions, according to Gavin. We've been saying companions because that's the wording here. If you're referencing the fact that we're referring to the Doctor's companion that essentially acts as like a partner, I think it just makes more sense to just say partner. But
Yeah, partner
are
with a doctor is pretty much what it is.
but I think the is stating that the commander deck of the Doctor's greatest villains won't have any companions in it. Is that what you're trying to say? The Missy is the face of the villain deck, it seems. Oh,
Yeah, it looks like Missy is the face of the villain deck,
okay.
which is
Then
another reason why I'm like, I don't think Missy's going to be a companion, but it could go either way for me because Missy could also just be a notable legendary in the deck.
I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be pretty excited for this Doctor Who set, and it looks like a majority of the audience is too. 44% say they're more interested in seeing Doctor Who than they are anything from the world of magic at this point, which is the Lost Caverns of Ixalan or Wilds of Eldraine. I'm personally interested in Ixalan because I love me some pirates and dinosaurs. Also, I jumped back into this game with Ixalan years ago, which was
Did
such
you
a.
go to the Ixalan pre-release?
I did. It was a blast.
Did you sit there while everyone was going?
What? You going what?
Dang it, my mic is cutting. But da 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 da
No.
da da.
No. I just remember getting really excited when I pulled either, what was that one white vampire, the Adonto Vanguard, or a Charging Monstrosaur. Like, either one of those, like, really helped to dictate, like, your draft or your sealed, deck.
Yeah.
No, that set was very fun to play. I wouldn't say it was the best draft experience, but it was still really fun. Like, I loved what they were doing. And like, dinos taking damage and they sort of retaliate. Like, there's a lot of cool mechanics in there that I'm excited to go back to and see how they iterate on. Because there's some good cards in there still. But yes, thank you for breaking that out. I That doesn't mean there can't be like a Missy. Do you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean they can't print two versions of the same card. Like, we'll see. Because they did that with Lord of the Rings, you know what I mean? They made like 7 different Gandalfs and stuff. So there might be like through the ages or through different points in time, they might do different variations of a face card or of a card.
Can we
My
acknowledge they
hope.
went like full on action figure with that Gandalf? They're like, we have all these different versions of Gandalf. We have
Hmm.
Gandalf. We have Gandalf with the different staff. Gandalf wearing white. Gandalf also wearing white, but
Yeah.
next to people. Gandalf on a horse.
Yeah, mono white Gandalf. Ooh, flash all the things. Yeah, they really did ham it up with Gandalf. No, and honestly, like I'm sure he helped to sell that set. I mean, not that set needed much help selling itself. The One Ring, I mean, the One of One Ring really helped the trajectory, I feel, of those sales, those early sales, and also all of the elven rings, the dwarven rings, the human rings, like the serialized cards are really, I mean, really appealing, I think, to a lot of collectors, especially people that enjoy Lord of the Rings. But yeah, I'm excited to tear through some of that set. Hopefully we get some product in soon. It would be nice. But that'll cover it for Doctor Who. Like I said, we're gonna go over the rest of Commander Masters now. So I just want to turn to you guys and say, what's up? Are you excited for Doctor Who? Again, feel free to share your love of the set in the comments. I'm curious to know who your favorite Doctor is, what you're most excited for from the set. Clearly, there's an interest in it. Me, as just a MTG player, I'm most excited to see all the new mechanics, how they take effect and over the larger part of the game. Like, will this actually impact the cEDH meta? We'll see. I don't necessarily care that it does, but I'm mostly curious to see how these doctors come out and if I make a new doctor deck. I would love to make a list that was predominantly lands, just because people say you can't play on a budget competitively, but if you're just playing with a bunch of lands, it's pretty cost effective.
Man, have I got some decks for you then? Because I think I have like 7 almost all land decks so far for
Oh yeah,
cEDH.
and
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying. It's the 11th Doctor, first episode, fish sticks and custard. Thank you for that. All right, so to cover up the rest of Commander Masters, and again, just so you guys know, we will be discussing a lot of this set more in depth on the channel. Just going over some of the singles that we feel you should be picking up. If you're not interested in buying the product, totally understandable. But if you did want to increase or bolster your Commander arsenal, there are a handful of cards we think are pretty solid from this set and worth picking up, namely from the Precons. So go to TCG Player, affiliate link in the description. That's where you want to buy the cards. But we're going to start with not Zuladoc, Onyxia, Commodore Guff, or Sliver Gravemother. We've talked those to death. We did want to discuss some of the new cards from those sets, though. So this is actually in order of where you will find them. So Amarthus is the colorless legendary from Zuladoc. If you haven't seen this, it was spoiled last. But Amarthus is XX Spirit Naga 0/0 legendary creature. Amarthus Ghostfire Initiate enters the battlefield, X +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever you put one or more +1/+1 counters on another colorless creature, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Amarthus. When Amarthus dies, manifest a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of counters on it. So that last effect is the one that's most interesting. For sure. I think that there are interesting play lines to be had here. The fact that it has to be a colorless creature to do the trigger to second effect, I can understand why. It does hamper the effectiveness of this as a combo card, but provided you're able to bypass the legendary rule and have 2 of these on the battlefield, then any sort of +1 gain to one creature means infinite gain to both creatures. And then sacrificing one or the other will let you manifest your deck. That's really good. And then obviously, if you have with manifest, you could pay the cost of the creature, I believe, at any time to flip it if it is a creature. Otherwise, it's just a 2/2 creature. But if you had a creature that says, all your other creatures have haste, well, then your board is effectively what? Let's just say you had 86 cards. You have like 170
160 damage.
yeah
Just 160 damage is usually enough.
right, that should be ideally enough. But yeah, thoughts on Amarthus. This is one of the cards that we do highlight in one of our videos, and
Yeah,
I think it's good.
it's a good card because completely ignore the combo as like a whole mechanic. If you just have colorless creatures and you can keep putting counters on them with a bunch of different things, this eventually gets to the point that you can just one-shot someone with Amarthus because, oh, give all your creatures +1/+1. I had 8 creatures on board, so I give Amarthus a +1/+1 counter in addition to 7 more, so Amarthus gets +8/+8, and this is your commander. So commander damage kills. On top of the fact that, oh, someone removes your Amarthus, okay, I'll put 16 power onto the board, and then I can flip some of these to get utility, which will build up my board as well, and will also be more colorless creatures for my Amarthus. So when I replay Amarthus, I can keep putting counters on all my things, which will keep putting more counters on Amarthus. So it's kind of like a Hydra thing. You cut off one head, and then it comes back even stronger.
Right. Namely because, like you were saying, the idea of allocating +1/+1 counters to a massive board, well, you make the massive board when Amarthus dies. So it's sort of like you're saying, like Erebos. It's like this infinite loop of hell, Naga hell. I like it a lot. Obviously, the card pool is going to be somewhat limited with Amarthus as your commander, but I do think there are play lines there for this. It's one of those commanders that will only get better with time, but I like it a lot. Like, and in the 99, I don't know where it slots necessarily. If there
I
is
don't think
space
it goes in the 99 of really anything.
yeah.
But another notable thing is if we ever get something that allows you to freely move around your counters to some level of ease, Amarthus is also going to go infinite with that as well. Like if you have an equipment that says you can remove a +1/+1 counter from one of your creatures to put one on the equipped creature, that'll go infinite with Amarthus because you just keep going, put a counter on Ornithopter, Amarthus gets a counter, put a counter on Ornithopter, Amarthus gets a counter.
What is the psi? Isn't there one that does that? Umizawa's Jite?
It removes when it deals combat damage, or when the equipped creature deals combat damage, you put two counters on Jitte. You remove charge counters from Jitte to either give +2/+2 to the equipped creature,
On the
-1,
attack.
-1 to something, or gain life. So it's
Gotcha.
similar to Jitte, but
But
not exactly.
there's also that one like Ozolith that moves counters around, right? But
Yep, the Ozolith is when a creature dies, you move the counters onto the Ozolith instead of vaporizing them.
right, so they're not squandered, right? You don't necessarily want the Martha's counters you want to trigger. You don't want to move the unless you really just want a big
Well,
Amarthus.
no. It Amarthus will trigger and you'll get the trigger for all the
Oh, that's
manifests, but
true. They
then you'll
just
remove it to
won't.
Ozolith afterwards.
Never
It's still
mind.
good. Ozolith is
Other
definitely going to be a thing in there.
Okay, that's true. That's true. It doesn't because it doesn't consider where those counters go.
Hmm.
It doesn't care. That's actually not bad. Ozolith came out in the set where they introduced like trample counters and haste counters and stuff, right? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, weirdly enough, with the rulings of Ozolith, even though Ozolith says when a creature would die, move the counters to this instead of, or move the counters to this, um, Ozolith doesn't actually move the counters. Ozolith makes an exact copy of those counters on itself, which is relevant for things like modular. So if you have a modular
Mm,
creature die with 5 counters, you put 10 counters on the Ozolith, and you put 5 counters on the Ozolith and 5 counters on something else.
right.
So it still works with things like modular. So
Ooh.
weird ruling, weird ruling.
So now the real trick is to make Ozolith a creature by way of effect, so that you have a colorless creature just collecting counters. That would be kind of dope.
Hmm.
Just another card to go crazy with the Ozolith. Yeah, I
Yep.
think so too. I think that's enough of Amarthus. I want to cover the legendary creatures a little bit more in depth because there's more to them. But we could sort of go over. They're not
We can
not
skim the list.
yeah, not all the new cards are fantastic. There are a handful of good utilities though. Leori Spark Touch Hunter, we actually brewed just recently on the channel. It's fine. I really tried. It's fine though. Just bear in mind that Super Friend strategies aren't the most effective in cEDH just because planeswalkers are generally costly. But Leori Spark Touch Hunter for Jeskai 3/3 Elemental Cat Flying Vigilant. Whenever Leori Spark Touch Hunter deals combat damage to a player, so it has evasion, flying vigilance. It's also a blocker for your planeswalkers. Choose a planeswalker type. Until end of turn, whenever you activate an ability of a planeswalker of that type, copy that ability, I should say. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this is kind of cool with effects that let you, like Displacer Kitten, flicker your planeswalkers. Because what you're doing is effectively getting these planeswalker loyalty abilities twice per turn. So if you flicker one of those characters, you'll get it 4 times that turn, right? And it doesn't care to see that that planeswalker type was on the battlefield while you did this thing. You could attack with Leori, name Chandra, and then play Chandra and get the effect of this card. Also note that it's on combat damage, so if you had double strike, you could actually get this to trigger twice. There are some fun things to do here. We looked at additional combats. We looked at a few tricks to get this to go off. We ultimately settled on only having 6 friends in the deck. I don't know how super that is, but we had 6 friends in the deck. They were all relevant, but there weren't any good play lines with the planeswalkers specifically that helped to win on the spot without a high setup cost. I think it's fine. I think it's probably one of the cooler Super Friends commanders you could play, but bear in mind it lacks draw, and it lacks any sort of utility that'll help you go through your deck or refill hand. So when you run out of value, you run out of value.
Yeah. If I wanted to try to build Leori, I'd probably just do a Teferi Jace tribal hybrid deck, just because if you can get 2 Teferis out, most Teferis have card draw with them or removal, same with the Jaces. So I feel like that's probably the best way to go because
Mm-hmm.
you will be able to keep your hand filled and be able to protect your planeswalkers. And then once you have a big enough board, Ichor Moon Gauntlet with Leori is kind of a closer because all your planeswalkers double proliferate, and one of your planeswalkers is going to have a -12 to take 2 turns, and within those 2 turns, you're probably setting up for another 2 turns.
Mm-hmm. Chapter Black says, I bet lacking doubling season was a big letdown too. It made it a little bit more difficult, honestly. Like, the lack of doubling season, like Will was trying to suggest there, like, you should be able to get to your ultimates reasonably fast if you have the right setup. But yeah, doubling season, just putting certain planeswalkers on ultimate is amazing. Green in general could have helped this list, but it's some of the best utilities for planeswalkers. They're kind of expensive, and something that I wanted to use was Academy Rector, but there was just no great way to get Academy Rector to go off. It's hinky to go about Super Friends and Jeskai. I was surprised to find. And every single time we goldfish the deck, it became I I was struggling not to just go through intuition piles that just went on the spot. Let me just say that. Because it's far easier to just do that. So there was one goldfish pile where or goldfish game where I'm like, well, let's just try to do the Super Friends thing. And I went through a very convoluted line only to be 1 mana shy of winning on the spot, which was so sad. But it was a Cloudstone Curio, Accomplice line. The Accomplice, the red one that just pay a red, put a Planeswalker into play. So Cloudstone Curio, and it was Chandra and then another Planeswalker that ultimately would have killed everyone. Right. And anyway, that's Leori. Fine.
It's sad just because Jeskai has the best one card combos in the game because what is it? Micromancer, Spellseeker, and Intuition are all 3 cards that just say play this, win the game, either this turn or next turn.
Mm-hmm.
And Leori can do cool things, but it's never going to be better than that.
Right, it's sort of counter to what those colors actually want to do in a competitive scene, which I mean, it'd be cool to do a Super Friends thing if the Super Friend legend had a way to sacrifice the thing, or like, I don't know, because Academy Rector is a house. Like, it's very good at putting the Planeswalker you need on the battlefield, but you need a way, or black with additional cost sacrifice the thing, something to help the ball rolling on getting her to pop off. And then there's like Oath of the Gatewatch, I think, is your Planeswalker tutor. There's a couple of Planeswalker tutors, but they're also very expensive.
Yeah, it would have been so much better if the Super Friends commanders were Wooburg. Just having the options would have been nice because I don't think that we have a good Wooburg Super Friends commander yet.
No, and I don't think it would have been broken either. Like, if it was just heavy-handed, oriented towards Super Friends, like, there are better 5-color commanders to play. So the people that are playing 5 colors wouldn't, leverage it. And then people that actually want to have a fun time playing Super Friends, they would have the whole range of Planeswalkers to play with. But even still, this is what we got. So we have Narcy Fablesinger, and I have to say that this is probably my favorite of the lot. Like, I kind of want to build her next because she seems really cool. But it's 1 generic and Abzan for a 3/3 human bard, lifelink. Whenever you sacrifice an enchantment, draw a card. So it's like, it's counter to your typical Enchantress style list where you're just casting them. So there is an additional step involved here. And it's important to note it's not a sacrifice when your character dies, it has an aura on it. It just goes away, right? So you actively need to do things like Aura of Silence, sacrifice this, pop a thing, then you draw a card, or have enchantments that self-sacrifice and or ways to sacrifice enchantments. Whenever the final chapter ability of a saga you control resolves, and I believe they say sacrifice at the end of the saga, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that saga's mana value. So it's sort of orienting you to play a certain style of deck. And I like that. I like lists like this. But on top of all of that, it's offering you draw as well, which is a big buy-in to this list for me. So it's Abzan. You're getting a little bit more than the typical Enchantress list that's out there. I think it's pretty solid. And Abzan's a really good part of the color pie for this. Selesnya is great for this. Green itself is great for this. So you're getting a lot of the Enchantress stuff, but with more colors. Like more tutors, more utilities. I like it a lot. I don't know how many good sagas there are, though.
Yeah, it's the sagas aren't super useful for the deck, at least, because most of them are pretty slow. I think what you could do is probably use that last effect as an outlet to win, because you can maybe do some cheeky thing with proliferate or something to
Mm-hmm.
just do infinite damage, but yeah, not sure.
Are there any
Um,
like read ahead sagas that let you just conclude like really big sagas at a time?
Not that I know of.
Mm.
Um, yeah, not that I know of, but
Research. That is one I will research because that
yeah.
could be fun, you know, and like to just conclude a saga if its last effect is, I don't know, recover something from your graveyard. I don't know. There's got to be a way to like play out multiple sagas and just have them conclude. And also, again, because you're doing this strategy, you're likely going to have a wide board of enchantments. So think of Sarah's Sanctum here. You're going to have the mana to play out these big sagas, anyways. Or Guy's Cradle in certain instances. I don't know how many creatures we're actually going to have here outside of the enchantresses, but I think it's not so bad. How many sagas would you put in there? A deck like this? Likely 20, says Steven. That's a good question. I don't know if there'd be a cap necessarily. I think it just depends on the quality of the sagas. More quality, less quantity. But genuinely, I can't say because I don't. It's like when Tom Bombadil came out. You know, everyone got excited about sagas again. I think they're trying to make sagas a sexier thing, and and seriously, and they're just really not for the commander format. I don't know what to tell you. I think we're going to come up on a saga in a second and we can look at it because it's not bad and it's white, but I don't know. Are sagas sexy, Will? That's a good poll question. Are sagas
When the best saga in the game is a land, I don't think that they're that great.
Is that you're talking about
Urza Saga, yeah.
Urza? Oh.
Um, so I've been trying to look through to see if there's any kind of super interesting play lines that can be done to use with this commander, but I think the most interesting one is trying to do something with an animate dead and Sun Titan or something like that to
Mm,
sack the enchantment infinitely or something along the lines of that, because I think the enchantments can be sacrificed through some weird means.
mm.
But it's like a Claws of Gix or something like that.
Okay.
There's some weird line that you can probably do to make this work well.
Okay, okay. I mean, I like the card. I like the art a lot. I feel like if I can make it playable, I will. Damn it. Anything that encourages me to play differently or think differently. But I do not own a Sarah Sanctum, and I missed that window. So that sucks. That's what I hate about the fact that I sold my Guy's Cradle. Like, I look at green list and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to play that. Am I? Oh, it's okay. That's fine. Our last like additional leader. Steven says, what about the reverse side of the new Praetors? They're playable. I don't know if they're
They're,
sexy.
they're never gonna get sacked, but
No, because they flip over. Yeah. Unless we sacrifice them somehow. But
yeah,
yeah,
Claws of
they're
Gix,
still
let's go. Sacrifice a permanent.
or you can use Despotic Scepter and just sacrifice your permanents that way. Or you can use the Staff of the Completed or Completed Staff
Oh, also
to
true.
sacrifice permanent.
Wait,
Just
is it sacrifice or is it destroy?
don't you shut your mouth, Will. Don't you ruin my dreams. Wait, I think you're right. I think you're right though. Destroy target permanent you own. And
Yeah.
then the staff. I don't. It's fine. Whatever. It's whatever. Reminders aren't working. Reminders aren't working, Ryan.
Yeah, Staff of Completion is a destroy target permanent you own.
Damn
Sorry,
it.
not you control though. So if someone hijacks your creature, you can kill your own creature.
Right, yeah, screw playing that one land homeward path. Like don't return it to me. You know, and it's insult enough that you even touch the card. Just destroy it.
You think I want it back? No.
Exactly. You think I'll touch that again? Get that away from me. And Ryan, I'm sorry that the reminders didn't work. I found that YouTube is really shafting this channel with in a few ways. But I've noticed some like weird walls and barriers with the content on the channel recently, and I can't say why. Um, I'm sorry that a reminder didn't go off for you though. But what you can do to help, guys, I'll take a little moment for this PSA. Be sure to like every video you watch, whether you like it or not, because if you like the channel, it really does help the content get pushed out. Again, for some reason, they've just been blocking a lot of this content. I've noticed it with the shorts too, where it's like the trajectory is like this, and it just flat lines. And it's like, I don't know, like people are watching 120% of this video. It has high like ratio, high engagement, and yet they just flatline it. So I have no idea what that's about. But if you do want to help, and hopefully this fixes whatever error is going on in their backend, feel free to like and share these videos. It goes a long way.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of our content. Don't forget to hit that bell.
Exactly. But yeah, apparently the bell doesn't do shit. So hit the bell anyways, but thanks.
Hit the bell because if you hit it hard enough, maybe it'll start working again. Percussive maintenance just...
Exactly. Ruka, I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's just
Wooburg unplayable card. Let's go.
Right. Feels like she has so many combos. Smarter players than me will figure them out. Well, I consider Will a smart player. Let's see. Read this one off. Give us the play line, Will.
So when this enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Slivers and non-token creatures you control are the chosen type in addition to their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature spells you own but aren't on the battlefield. You can pay 3, tap, and create a 1/1 colorless sliver token. There's no real combo here. There's some weird tribal synergy things that you can do, but there's no super hard combo because when you look at the other effects, like what is it called? Arcane Amulet or whatever, which is just choose a creature type. Your creatures are that type. That only sees playing stuff like Eureka.
Yeah.
Just so that you can make your Thopter a ninja. So this doesn't do much, sadly. There'll probably be something really good in the future with it, but not right now.
Yeah, my main issue with commanders like this, and I mean commanders that have Wooburg cost, like literal Wooburg cost, and not Wooburg somewhere associated with their color identity in the text box, is that they're just hard to play. They're hard to play out. Like, I get it, dude. You got the Mox Diamond, you got your Signet, you got your dual lands. Like, you're still doing a lot of work to make that happen. Where, like, my dumbass, I'm just playing Oswald, and it's like, I just need generic and a white, and I'm gonna go to town. I'm gonna play my commander.
Land Lotus Petal Commander, let's go.
Right, or just Jeweled Lotus. Let's go. I'll use that land to play Soul Ring, pass. It's like, it's rough when you have a commander that's 5 colors to begin with, but I agree with you, Vegan. I there is something there, but maybe smarter player than I will figure it out. And I agree. I think Will's right. It's gonna open up hopefully later. But when you look at that last ability, it's like just play Sliver, the Sliver Queen, or the one that just auto generates slivers. Right?
Sliver Queen generates sliver tokens. Sliver Grave Mother is the one that does the stuff that you've brewed before. Sliver Overlord is the one that tutors any sliver out of your deck. All 3 of those are better than this.
Yeah, it's an awkward one. It's an awkward one. I kind of wish that she had the Wooburg somewhere in the cost, maybe, or I don't know. There's no way to save her. Is there? I don't know. Anyways.
It would have been cool if she was like a Dimir 1/1 that had like pay a red, make a 2/1 sliver, pay a green, make a 1/2 sliver, or pay a white, make a like 0/3 sliver, and you had to tap to do that. So it's like that would have been cool, and then you'd be able to have like 2 mana player commander, and then
I love it if she like pay a generic and a white to make a 0/3 wall sliver. All your slivers are walls. It's like just like quirky. She's like a very niche scientist, right? Or biologist, whatever. They're scientists, but a very niche scientist that like makes specific slivers in her lab. Because that's what it looks like is happening. But she just makes colorless slivers. I feel like this was kind of boring. This was kind of boring design.
Well,
where it's like a Kenrith of sliver.
Whatever type. These slivers will be whatever type that you chose. So they'll be sliver walls if you want them to be. They could be sliver eyeballs. You don't know.
I don't know, but I feel like it would have been cooler if she had a specialty sliver that you could produce of the colors, like sort of Kenrith effects, where you get the colors just in abilities instead. Rook is arcane adaptation in the command zone. This is true.
Yeah.
So we're moving on to the Eldrazi Unbound, I believe is what the set is called. Abstruse Archaic. So this is one of the ones that I like. I think it's pretty decent. All the Archaics are decent. They're decently playable cards. 4 generic, 3/4 creature avatar vigilant. Generic and a tap, copy target activated or triggered ability you control from a colorless source. That's a lot of them, honestly. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this is interesting. This will let you set up a few things, but it will also just let you manipulate some really good activated abilities. So depending on what your deck is trying to do, this is just an additional like Strionic Resonator, or that's the big one that comes to mind. It also cost 1. Except it's attached to a vigilant attacker. Like, you've got a body that can do stuff for you as well. It's good.
Another card that goes infinite with Paradox Engine. We did it, guys. We broke Paradox Engine.
Stop reminding everyone that it's never gonna happen. Okay. This is a really, and that sucks, because Paradox Engine's masterpiece art is so damn good. It is one of the, speaking of sexy sagas, it's one of the sexiest masterpieces. But yeah, just you can have the art, you can own the card. That's cool. Abstruse Archaic. I don't know about you guys. I like effects like this. I like seeing more effects like this. So us getting it, just in addition to the other really good reprints from that particular box, was nice. I actually have it behind me. You know, I pulled a... So as an MTG ambassador, we just get stuff. That's right. We're better. We're better than the average collector.
Different.
We're built. I should just crack this in my bicep really quick. But no, actually, we can look at the cards this way instead. Will, how cool is that? How cool are we?
True.
So what's interesting from these boxes, because we didn't really have a chance to talk about these, but you get these like foil art cards, etched foil art cards that are like on this cardboard. So they won't fit into a sleeve, or they'll fit into an oversized sleeve. But then I also got these cards. I think I showed these to you, Will. But I pulled a full art foil Onyxia just from like the little promo pack you get. So in case you're wondering, I know that there is probably some interest in the Precons still. The little 2-card promo pack you buy, or you get with your thing, they can come with mythic rares. This is a common. This is a common from the set. But it was also foil. Like, they were both foil. Like, what a cool...
It's also Dread Return, and that card does see play, so...
Dude, no, Dread Return is way more playable than Onyxia, but the Onyxia is probably worth more. I have no idea what these will actually sell for. But I will say that I noticed there's some, like, top wear on the card. Those promo packs were a little weird with the quality. But, Abstruse Archaic, great card to just have in addition to the set. Sorry, I just wanted to show off the Onyxia. I just thought that was cool that you could pull like an actual valuable card from those packs.
Yeah, and also it turns out we've gotten a really good colorless card that you've fallen in love with recently, Patrick, that this card works really well with.
Which one?
The One Ring, the Precious.
Oh yeah, you can...
Doubling up those activations to double up the draw.
Or no, you could double the burden counter damage.
Yeah, true. Yeah, flex on them. Joke's on you guys. Instead of taking 9, I'm taking 18.
Pass. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's totally cool if I just die to this right now. But you're so right. Yeah, the One Ring. Use it with that. We have Calamity of Titans. Again, we're going to skim over some of these. I don't know if you have much to say about this. Let's do every other. Here, why don't you read off Calamity of Titans?
Calamity of Titans is 4 with 2 colorless, and as an additional cost to cast the spell, reveal a colorless creature from your hand. Exile all creatures and planeswalkers with mana value less than the revealed card's mana value. So this is just 6 mana. Exile pretty much everything if you reveal a Titan. So it's a meh board wipe, but it's a board wipe.
Colorless board wipe, I know, like... Yeah. Okay, moving on. Desecrate Reality, 7 generic. And what's important is that when you look at these, a lot of these can be Zul'Adok playable, because Zul'Adok is you get Cascade off of 7 or more spells, right? The cost of 7 or more. So Desecrate Reality is one of those spells. Instant speed. For each opponent, exile up to 1 target permanent that player controls with an even mana value. Awkward. Adamant. If at least 3 colorless mana was spent to cast this spell, return a permanent card with an odd mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. I think Kozilek is 10. I'm trying to... Right. Well, the one from this particular set is 10. This is fine. It's 7 mana, so you really do want something to leverage this more than it's just face value. So if Zul'Adok is your commander, maybe this is playable. I mean, we built Zul'Adok, and I can't say that too much of Zul'Adok's deck changed how we built that deck. It was good, though. The deck is good.
Yeah. I mean, 7 mana for a board wipe for some specific things that also reanimates something like Void Winnower. Not terrible.
Is Void Winnower the best reanimate? Again, you're in colorless, so it's like you. There's no real grave setup here. If you're playing Zul'Adok as your commander, it's like the thing died or you discarded it to some effect, and then you can reanimate it, which would be great. It's fine. I think Desecrate Reality's fine. I think it's maybe niche playable in Zul'Adok.
Yeah.
Flayer of Loyalties is sick as hell. I don't know why I like this card so much, but
it's big, and it's a big dumb card that makes another card a big dumb card. Why not love it?
I know, but it's until end of turn, which makes me really sad. But I mean, it's 10 mana though. I don't know, and it's not like it's difficult to remove these things. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Flayer of Loyalties, 8 generic for a 10/10 Eldrazi creature that has, when you cast this spell, gain control of a target creature until the end of the turn. Untap that creature until the end of the turn. It has base power and toughness 10, and has trample and Annihilator 2 and haste. And then this has Annihilator 2 and trample. So it's basically hijack a thing and then make it a copy of this to some extent, but it keeps all of its initial text box anyways. So, I mean, heck, it's still 10 mana, get a 10/10, and then annihilate 2 somebody's stuff while hitting them. So, yeah, interesting card. I like it.
Huh. You can gain control of the Tymna.
Yeah. And then you gain 10 life and deal trample damage. And then you just pay that 1 life to draw a card.
Yeah.
And then the Annihilator 2 is pretty sweet. And it's
can you annihilate the Tymna itself afterwards? Can you annihilate the thing you've stolen?
No, because it's the defending player has to sacrifice things they control.
Damn, okay.
Also, I do want to say the Abstruse Archaic, it can copy Annihilate triggers. So if you want to do that, have fun.
It can no, it can't copy the cast trigger. Damn it. But that is true. It could copy a Annihilator and just like really screw one of your friends out of the game. Is it activated or triggered ability? So it says when you cast the spell,
triggered, so you can copy the cast.
Can you?
Yeah, because that's a cast trigger. That's a cast trigger.
Man, it makes me want to play Flayer of Loyalties as my commander. It just seems so stupid. But this is a cool cast trigger. I mean, obviously, if this was like when this creature resolves, like when this creature enters the battlefield, this would be so good.
Yeah, it's another geeky card.
Right. This is cleaner than what they've been doing with, like, when this enters the battlefield, if you cast it. I think it just makes more sense to say when you cast this spell.
Yeah.
Right.
So, since it is on cast, it doesn't go infinite with Kiki, but it's harder to stop it from stealing something, so a little bit of give, little bit of take.
Yeah, that's true. Because there are effects that could just... Stifle will stop the trigger here, but that's it. Like, if you cast this, a counterspell doesn't stop you from still getting a Flayer of Loyalties. That's actually kind of cool flavor. All right, we have Rise of the Eldrazi for 9 and triple colorless, a 12-cost spell. Sorcery, this spell can't be countered. Ooh, speaking of counter spells. Destroy target permanent, target player draws 4 cards, take an extra turn after this one. Exile Rise of the Eldrazi. Like, I don't know if they needed to exile this thing, but I do understand that there might be playable loops with it if it didn't exile itself. Draw 4 cards is fine. That's Kozilek, right? It's Kozilek territory. Take an extra turn. Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's literally all the effects of the 3 OG Titans, because Emrakul took an sorry, what is it? Ulamog destroyed a permanent, Kozilek drew 4, and then Emrakul did extra turn. So it's literally all the Eldrazi's cast effects.
It's good. I think it's good. I think it's decently playable in Zulu potentially. Um,
I
I
think
don't.
the best place to play this card is probably cEDH Tatiova, just because it's an extra turn card. It can't be countered. It's removal and draw. So that's probably the best use. Also, Tatiova doesn't care about the casting cost because Tatiova is the ramp deck.
Yo, I have a. I actually pulled a full art profile foil.
Tatiova.
Yeah, I was like, hey, maybe I should build this. I don't know which one it is, but I've always loved playing against Tatiova, and I like the extra additional extra turn strategy. Um, she could be fun to play. Hers is really good looking too. So I haven't looked at all the profile arts. I've just looked at the ones that I actually pulled, but I could play that. Anyway, and now I have the extra turn spell to play with it. Does capture
Yeah,
of Jing Zhao? No. I haven't looked at the prices of that card yet, but I feel like that's a Tatiova card.
it is. It definitely is, and I think it's gone down a bit, but I'm gonna check that really quick
Because
as
it's
we.
mythic, right?
Is it mythic? I
I
don't know.
think
I think it's mythic. Yeah.
so. I would think so.
Capture of. It is mythic from this set, and it's 50, a bit over $50 for it right now, but it's pre-sale. I think it's gonna drop once it is actually for sale.
Can you see that
Oh.
right?
Yeah, I can.
So good looking. I don't
Got
know.
that kelp hair going on, I know.
Right, and I also there's like another Ugins Mastery in here. But yeah, this Tatiova. I was like, I pulled that. I'm like, do I play Tatiova now? I mean, it's uncommon from the set, so I guess the probability was high. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Tatiova's always been an uncommon. Best uncommon commander in the game, let's go.
perfect. Skittering Cicada, 3 generic creature insect 2/2 flash. You may cast colorless spells as though they had flash. Whenever you cast a colorless spell until end of turn, Skittering Cicada gains trample and gets +X/+X, where X is that spell's mana value. This is really good.
Yeah, it is another Shimmer Mirror. It's debatably better because you can play your non-artifacts as well, but
Mhm.
so it's worse with Wishclaw Talisman, but better with any Eldrazi Titan or anything. And if you have like a Sensei's Divine top loop going on, you can make this thing infinitely big and use a Chandra's Ignition or something like that to kill everybody. So it's good.
At instant speed,
Indeed.
right?
Well,
Is Chandra's Ignition a
Chandra's Ignition
sorcery?
would be, yeah, the sorcery.
Okay, well then the build is it minimally Born Upon a Wind,
Yeah.
Sensei's Top, and then you do the basalt or whatever infinite mana ranks of bright hearth basalt monoliths
There's
combo.
probably something else that you can use instead of Chandra's Ignition as a kill con for that, but that's the first one I thought of.
That's actually kind of cool. I mean, I the card by itself is just generically good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Shimmer Mirror with the potential to kill people. Let's go.
a lot of good cards came from the Zulodok set, and Ugin's Mastery is just another one.
Yeah, Ugin's Mastery is a 4 for an enchantment that says whenever you cast a colorless creature, manifest the top card of your library, and whenever you attack with creatures with total power 4 or greater, you may flip one of those face down creatures. So this card is really good because, and we're going to say this in a future video, but I might as well just say it now for anyone watching the live stream. Aminatou had a weird combo with Scroll of Fate so that you could use Scroll of Fate, tap it, and put a card you control as a face down 2/2 from your
Manifesting,
hand.
yeah, yeah.
And then you'd flicker it with Aminatou, and then it would return face up as whatever. So you could cheat in an Omniscience or something else massive with that. This does all of that by itself because you can just keep casting things to keep manifesting the top card of your library until you hit something massive. Then you swing and flip that massive thing and just win. It's good. It is quite good. Also, you can do some kind of loop to cast a artifact creature infinitely, like for KCI or something like that, and manifest your entire deck, and then you can win off of that as well. Wait, also, chapter. Did I say if you attack with a 4 greater, not 6 or greater? My bad if I did.
Yeah, yeah. Either way.
Yeah, either way, it's like you still just attack with a couple things, and if you're manifesting cards, 6 is not hard. 6 is a very easy number to reach if you're casting colorless creatures and manifesting the top card of your library.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the skittering cicada by itself, right? Doesn't the skittering cicada? Let me see here, because if you cast Ugin's Mastery into skittering cicada, is that not just a 6/6?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I mean, not that that needs to be the combo, but you get what I'm saying. You get there. That's not so bad at all. I
Yeah.
like it a lot. I think that this could be a one card combo, as you were saying, more or less, depending on what you're doing. Whenever you cast a colorless creature manifest top, there's going to be a combo here just in and of itself. And then you mentioned exiling, flickering the thing back in.
Yeah, and you can do that with anything, but you don't even need to use the flicker because this is basically a flicker for your cards anyways, because when you attack, you flip the thing. You can also just use some flickers to flicker your things. It is a surprisingly good card. It is in a weird spot because it feels like it's really good, but also pseudo unplayable. So I'd be interested to see how this card is played.
Right, because at face value, it's a 4-drop do nothing. Like, it's not doing anything by itself.
Yeah. And then
Like,
you need to have colorless creatures to make it useful to begin with, and then the flip part is useless unless you can cast colorless creatures. But if you're doing something like KCI where you have a couple colorless creatures that you could loop, it's good. If you're planning on doing an artifact deck anyways, I think this is good. So, tis what it is.
so how do you want to cover? How do you want to cover the rest of these cards? Because there are a few to cover. Why don't
Well,
we? I'll leave it to the audience too. Are there any cards that you guys want to discuss of the new Precons, the 10 new cards that we haven't looked at quite yet, that you're interested in seeing? Because the majority of the cards we just covered, they were all actually from the Eldrazi Unbound, and those were all very good. The rest of these are subjective. But if there's one that you guys want to specifically talk about, like, we're happy to look at. But otherwise, we can sort of just comb over the ones we personally like, I think.
I do want to say the last card of Eldrazi Unbound, which is disappointing. Darksteel Monolith.
Right. So this one, very awkwardly, is over here for me. But yeah, Darksteel Monolith is it's fine.
Yeah, it's 8 mana, 8/8 indestructible. You can cast an artifact, or you can cast a colorless spell for free every turn. It's really cool to cheat out an Eldrazi Titan with this. Most of the time, you're cheating out a Soul Ring. Feels
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah. It feels bad. Like you were saying off camera earlier, like this would feel better if it was an 8-cost indestructible tap for 6.
Yep. It's that would just be more useful in a lot of situations because you can cast several cards for that. And even if you it's even if you want to try to cast an Eldrazi Titan or something with this to cheat it out, 6 mana is gonna get you most of the way there anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, eh.
Is this good in Zuladoc?
Uh, I
Cascade.
think it's good in Azuladoc only because this will cascade into 2 cards and then let you cast something big from your hand for free, which will let you cascade into another 2 cards.
Right.
So I think this is playable in specifically Zuladoc.
Right, because well, the Metalworker Colossus is 8, right?
I think it's 11 mana.
Oh my god. Okay, never mind. So you're not hitting that. That's okay.
I mean, hey, you can cast dark or what is it? The Darksteel Monolith, and then cast some other big artifact, cascade into 2, and then cascade into 2 again, and then you cast Metalwork Colossus for 0 because you have 2 big artifacts into play. So
It's true.
you can do that. But for the last of the stuff, I think we could probably just cover anything that caught our eye, starting with, I guess, the enchantment deck.
Yeah, Battle of at the Hell Vault was one that we talked about, and this is a saga that is maybe worth discussing and potentially useful. I like the
Yep.
last effect quite a bit. I feel like that is actually not backbreaking, but depending on the deck, like if you have a lot of stacks out, like having, well, you'll see. For Fortuneric and a double white, for each player, exile up to one target non-saga, non-land permanent that player controls until battle at the Hell Vault leaves the battlefield. So a little awkward. This does hit you. This happens twice, and then ultimately they'll get that stuff back because, as we know, sagas have to come to an end. But The third lore counter gets you a Avacyn legendary 8/8 white angel creature token with flying, vigilance, and indestructible. So not too shabby.
Yeah, the main use for this, in my opinion, is a little bit of temporary removal that can go infinite with Abdel.
Yep.
That's what I think it's useful for because you have Candlekeep Sage Abdel, which you get two Fiend Hunter effects and Abdel. Abdel exiles the first Fiend Hunter, second Fiend Hunter exiles Abdel. That returns the first Fiend Hunter, exiling the second, returning Abdel, and then loop, 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 loop. You flicker everything on your board infinite times, make infinite 1/1s, and because of Candlekeep Sage, draw your deck. This is another card that lets you exile something on your board until it leaves. So
Do you need two Fiend Hunter effects to do that?
yeah, it's a two Fiend Hunter-esque effects. So you can do Detention Sphere, you can do Oblivion Ring, you can do Fiend Hunter, you can do Leonin Relic Order. You just need two and Abdel.
Okay.
So this is just another one that is good enough for the deck, especially considering that it hits your opponent's stuff as well.
Um, we got a request from Vegan Economist here.
Yeah, For the Ancestors is the requested card. And which set is that from? Or not which set, but which deck? I
It's
think For the
next to Composer of Spring, which is definitely notable. But it's from the it's from Anixia, I believe. I could be wrong.
Yep, yep. Oh wait, no, that's from the Sliver deck.
Oh wow. Okay. But yeah, we can talk about it. So for the ancestors, are two generic and a green, instant speed. Choose a creature type. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of cards of the chosen type from among them and put the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. You also have a flashback of 1 generic more, so 3 and a green. Instant speed. That's actually kind of relevant. I think in a tribal list, you'll have some good hits. Dig 6 is somewhat narrow in commander, but not bad. What would make this successful in your mind? How many creatures do you actually reveal?
So I'd say that like 3 mana draw 2 instant speed is probably the best that you can hope from this, considering that has flashback as well. Like that would be a fair hit for it, and if you can hit more than that, even better. So I think hoping that you hit 2 is a good call off of that. And let's see. So hitting 6 cards means that you need to have about a third of your deck be creatures of that type, which is not impossible, but a little bit hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's okay for Elf Ball. I don't think it's insane. I will say, mix it with a Goblin Recruiter in some kind of Gruul Goblin deck or Jund Goblin deck, and you can do some dumb things because that just becomes 3 mana draw 6. Because you
Yeah,
just stack 6 goblins. Have fun.
yeah,
And
true, true, true.
there's probably other tutors that do something similar that I don't know about, but the recruiter is what I thought of first.
Right, or any of the effects that say creatures in your deck are of this type, or of all types. Then
Yeah,
that way, at
arcane
least you're
adaptation effects. Really good with that one that the Woober commander that we passed over, funnily
right.
enough.
Foolish us. Turns out for the ancestors was a core card to the strategy. I mean, it's definitely solid in a list like that. So there's playability. I think it's niche playable, but I don't think it's bad. Sorry. So Chapter Black says the one thing that makes actual Avacyn broken though is giving all permanents indestructible. But maybe that is too broken. Yeah, here I think it would be. But maybe it shouldn't be on a saga that's just a O-ring prior for 6. It is really weird, like the wording there. I see what you're saying though, Will, with its playability in Abdel Sage.
Yeah,
What if instead of Avacyn creature token, an Avacyn emblem that gives permanent indestructible would have been cool? Yeah, permanent indestructibility is legit. It really is. Especially when you look at something like the One Ring and it's just how sticky that thing is. Might
yeah.
it's been sticky for me. Might could even be increase the cost to make it more fair too. I can see that. Are there sagas that create emblems? I'm not aware of any.
No, I think it's only planeswalkers.
Right. Well, Composer of Spring is definitely one to talk about, but there are a handful more up here. Trying to look
Uh,
through these.
Another notable one that is more so for casual than competitive, but I did want to bring it up, is Boon of the Spirit Realm, because that card is kind of gross. 5
Mhm.
mana, sorry, 3 white white for an enchantment. Constellation, whenever Boon of the Spirit Realm or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a blessing counter on it. Then, creatures you control have +1/+1 for each blessing counter on this. It's pretty good. It turns out, an 5 mana Anthem that can give your stuff like +4/+4 can close out games.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm thinking like in Sithis would enjoy this. My version of Sithis would enjoy this because she goes wide. She just makes a mess of tokens. A mess of tokens. So if you're making a mess of tokens that are extremely powerful, bearing in mind all you need really do is get rid of Boon of the Spirit Realm and then they decrease in size, but is that really the threat? It's interesting because like if you have a mounting board state, you can either mass board wipe all of these things, which is exceedingly difficult if this is still out and you're trying to toxic deluge a board of creatures that are, 15/15s. Or just get rid of this, and then you still have to contend with a massive board of 3/3s and 5/5s and like 4/4 flying angels and stuff. This is good. I wouldn't even say this is maybe like niche playable in cEDH depending on what you're doing, but it would be only an enchantress list that might favor this, like a go wide enchantress list like this. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I like it. Also, the art is sick as hell. Descendant's Fury feels like it could have a polymorph combo. Not sure why it's better than just Transmogrify, but redundancy is redundant. Yeah.
We can talk about Descendant's Fury when we hit the sliver list, just because we can go in order. But we'll talk about that because it's a cool card.
Yeah. Or what do you have next then? Because I don't have.
Composer of Spring.
Mine is all over the map, so we
Oh,
can
sorry about that.
No. Like my the way it organized itself on Scryfall is it combined the list, I think. Do you want to cover Composer of Spring?
Sure thing. So, 1 in the green for a 1/3 Satyr Bard with Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you control 6 or more enchantments, instead put a creature or land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. 2 mana for Constellation, play a land tapped is pretty good by base. The fact that once you hit the critical mass of enchantments, you can start putting creatures into play is insane because it just becomes a mini Kodama. So if you're playing an enchantment deck, you run this, no question. And then when this eventually becomes active, you just chain together all of your enchantment creatures and put all of them into play in one go. You play an enchantment, which gets out your Nyxbloom Ancient, which gets out your Eidolon of Rhetoric, which gets out any other creature from your hand, and then you pass turn, and you're happy with that.
So Chapter Black says, "Will Sithis play this?"
Yeah. Yes. I do not think that Sithis would not play this for any reason.
Right. It's
quite good.
Yeah, I mean, it's you obviously need a high enchantment count in that list, but this is still really good because I mean the fact is Sithis is drawing you cards when you cast the enchantments, and then this is letting you play out any lands you draw, and then ultimately play out any other value creatures you draw, right? So let me see. It says you may put a land from your hand on the battlefield and control. You may put a land. So this does subvert. Like if you're putting out enchantment creatures, this won't give you the cast trigger of any enchantresses, but I think you'll try to avoid that fate. Like you'll just ramp instead, and that's okay.
Yeah.
This is really good. It's hyper playable card at 2CMC. This is the most playable card from the lot of these precons. I feel like it will slot into a handful of lists. Again, these are all niche playable, but this is the most playable of the niche cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it a lot. But yeah, why don't we just cover the Will's list? And because I don't want to cover, I don't care. Whatever you have on your list.
Yeah, I just have the spoilers as you sent them to me initially. So then for the Planeswalker stuff, there's not really anything of too much note from the Planeswalkers things because none of the Planeswalkers are too notable. The only cards that are kind of interesting are Jaya's Phoenix, which is a 4 in red for a 3/3 Flying Haste Phoenix. Whenever Jaya's Phoenix deals damage to a player or Planeswalker, copy the next loyalty ability activated this turn when you activate it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Whenever you cast a Planeswalker spell, you may return this from the graveyard to the battlefield. So, Jaya's Phoenix is just cool with Tefazat and cool with Lord Windgrace. That's pretty much it. There's other decks that might like it. It's something that could do work. I don't think it's going to see much, if any, play at all, but it's another Planeswalker utility that is cool for some of the Planeswalker
I
commanders that
like
we
it in
have.
Windgrace. I like it in Windgrace a lot, but namely any black partner paired planeswalker or planeswalker itself, just because you can entomb this and get it out.
Yeah,
That's really it's solidly playable in those. I agree with you. I like this a lot for that.
yeah. It's. I wish it was 4 mana instead of 5 though. But
Yeah,
in theory, just entombing this and then casting your Planeswalker is fine.
I guess
So
they thought that like a 5 for a 3/3 flying haste is vanilla fine. I would expect a little bit more stat wise. But then when
yeah,
you know, put into consideration the fact that it has an on damage trigger and it's a Phoenix, obviously it can recur itself in this sense by casting a Planeswalker. It's pretty good. I think it's
yeah,
fair. I think it's fair. I honestly think it's fair at 5, but I agree that it kind of hurts like just playing it from your hand if it's trapped, for sure.
yeah. And then the only other card from the Super Friends deck that I had noted down, just because I love this card and it has a ton of potential but doesn't do much right now, is Guff Rewrites History. 2 in a red for an instant. For each player, choose target non-enchantment, non-land permanent that player controls. Those permanents owners shuffle them into their libraries. Each player who controlled one of those permanents exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card, then puts the rest of the cards into the bottom of the library in a random order. Each player may cast the non-land card exiled this way without paying their mana cost. So this is only notable because we have Plarg, the red commander that's white on the back, so the weird Boros commander that lets you roll into a CMC 3 or less card from your deck at random. Plarg has had some weird things with like shifting shadows to try to set up some kind of dumb combos. I think this might be the better use for Plarg. And if Boros ever gets some kind of one card win bomb card, I think that there's a fun combo here. But right now, it's just a meme, and I can accept the meme.
I agree. It'd be very cool to be Plarg playable, but it's just not.
Yeah. And then I think that's it for the Super Friends deck. And I think we can cover some of the sliver stuff. And I think first we can talk about Descendants Fury, just because that was brought up already.
Yeah, yeah.
So Descendants Fury is 3 in a red for an enchantment. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice one of them. If you do, reveal the top card of your library until you reveal a creature card that shares a creature type with the sacrificed creature. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a pretty interesting card because it's just another polymorph,
Mm-hmm.
also reusable. The fact that it has to share a creature type makes it very awkward because the
Yeah.
things you want to hit are either like Razaketh the Foul-Blooded or Tidespout Tyrant or Hullbreak Horror. And I don't think that there's any good commander in those types that runs red. So
Yeah.
sadly, don't think it's good enough. But it could be useful in the future, and I think this card is killer in casual. I will say, if you're running an Eldrazi deck and you make an Eldrazi Scion and you sacrifice that to oh no, that has to deal combat damage. Well, if you make the what are they called? Not the Scions, but the slightly bigger ones. I'm gonna call them Might right now because I can't remember the 1/1 Eldrazi. But if you deal combat damage with the 1/1 Eldrazi token, you can turn it into a Kozilek. Have fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a little slow to start. I mean, like the general polymorph effects will they'll do the thing automatically, and they don't necessarily care like a Pyre of Heroes would get you a creature type equivalent, right?
Yeah.
It's like a weird mixture of those two things in the form of an enchantment. But the card itself stays, which is interesting. So it's a cool way to gradually go through your list. I don't hate it at 4CMC either. I do think you're right though, like its main targets are kind of difficult to hit.
Is I mean, name a Jin that's a good commander and is it? There isn't really one.
No.
Someone brought up changelings, which are good. But then if you do changelings, you can't run any other creatures in your deck, which is would kind of be the whole fun part of Descendant's Fury because you can
Mm,
still run creatures as opposed to all the other polymorph effects. And
right.
even then, that means that you have to have a commander that's a changeling, and there's only 4 in the game, and Morphon is the only one that has red in it.
There you go. More fun, Descendants Fury. Or if we can partner any of our Doctor's companions with Orvar.
Yeah,
There you,
indeed.
there you go. There you go.
I I am terrified to see if they make that an actual thing because Orvar might become a big threat if that becomes a
No way.
possibility.
There's no way. There's no way. I would
Just
love that.
don't mind me. I'm just gonna Azorius Orvar, and then I'm gonna turn my what's it called? The 3 mana Thalia with flying. I can't remember the name of that thing. The just non-creature spells cost 1 more guard thing.
Mm-hmm. The
Trying to remember the name of
To
that.
answer the question, is this card super risky? Yeah, it got free rights history. Yeah, it is risky.
Yes, very much so, but I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, the final card that I wanted to note, and this is the only thing that's like very useful, is I don't even know how to pronounce the second part, but it's Titan of Litai Jara?
Lijara, Lijara.
Yes, Lit Jar. It's the Lit Jar. But
The
4 blue
doctors.
blue for a 6/6 illusion. This enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. This is that creature type in addition. And when this enters the battlefield or attacks, you draw cards for each other creature you control that shares a type with it. Or which each other creature that shares a type with this, and then you discard a card. Got stuck on my tongue right there.
Mm.
This card's useful because it's really good in Elf Ball. You can Toski and Frostfang are decent cards for Elf Ball. The one issue is you have to swing to get the card draw, and elves do not want to swing. The Titans are very happy to just kind of, or the Titan is very happy to just draw you cards. I think it's good. I think it's quite good.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was looking into Jeff Brenn's comment on the doctor is not a creature type. It does say the doctor, even though doctor is a subtype on the card. I think what you're referencing is the blank doctor, like the 11th doctor, the 10th doctor.
Yeah.
So they said they came out and said that not that it's not. They came out and said that it's not, and that she only partners with the doctor. I didn't see a companion yet, but Jeff, if there's a link for that, please feel free to leave it after the video. I'd love to see that. Partners with the doctor, right? Right, but the doctor, you just mean like the actual name of the card. Is that what you're referencing? Because the doctor doesn't appear. It's Time Lord Doctor in the subtype. There's no the Doctor in the subtype.
Yeah, and then the card names are like the 11th Doctor, the 10th Doctor.
Right.
So
Right.
it's if they've come out and said it, fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
If not, hopefully Orvar can become terrifying, and that'd be
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, if they said it specifically, then cool. If you have a link for that, post it in chat. I'd be happy to run through that as we talk about other things.
Right. So Lijar, I like the fact that it's on ETB as well, this draw effect. And it's a 6 drop, but that is potentially a lot of draw until they fire Covenant over top of you casting this, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, a 6 drop isn't too hard though in an Elf Ball deck because your whole deck revolves around just getting a bunch of mana. So I think that it's not too bad.
No, I think this is playable in that. Again, I've got to say, all of these were niche playable, but this one's okay at cost for what it's doing. I actually really like this one quite a bit too. Illusion enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Yeah, is it really just Elf Ball playable?
Primarily Elf Ball. You can probably do something else with this in weirder colors. Um, you might be able to do something with wizards in this. You could probably do something with goblins in this, but I don't know what is it goblin deck you're running. There's a couple things that you could potentially toss this in and it'll work pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well though.
Yeah. But yeah, it is interesting. Like, it's an interesting take on the Orin Frostfang Toski effect because it only relies on you doing it with the one thing. But I also, like, I really think you can't neglect the fact that it happens on ETB as well. So you can flicker it and get more value out of this. And you don't even need to think about attacking, really. Yeah, it's good. Mind you, you do need to discard a card, but that also just means that it's set up for any sort of reanimator strategy too. So if you had something for that, or a flashback card, like you could probably ditch Savine's Reclamation and feel okay about that as well. Are there any other cards that you guys wanted to discuss from these Precon commanders? I know that there were a handful that we did not chat about. There are 10 from each set to include the face commander and the other legendary that comes in the box. Of those cards, mind you, the only foiled cards are the face commander and the other legendary, just so you know. I think that there are reprints of like full art and foil versions of those in some of the other commander product though. So whether you're buying singles or not, you can snag them that way. Tolran, it could be a Drake. The Titan of Littjara Drake. Yeah. Actually, I really love that. Talran's pretty legit, by the way. I could see Talran using this. Or any sort of like a token generator mono blue deck. This illusion goes great in Oketra.
You know what this is really good with? The Locust God.
Ooh. Yeah, actually. Isn't he? Is it? Or it? Is it? Yeah. Okay. Wait. Okay.
It's an is it, and whenever you draw a card, you make that many insect tokens. So you name insect. So you double up your insects every turn and keep filling your hand to an insane degree. That's funny.
Ovica, says Aiden. Ovica. All right. I was gonna say Oketra, I think is mono white, but speaking of gods, though, I think Locust God is. This might take the cake.
I love that I love that I was able to think about that. That's
wait,
that's
I kind of want to build this now. This is just dumb enough to be playable.
It's so stupid. It just might work.
Right. I mean, if you guys would want to see the Locust God, do you guys want to brew the Locust God from Littjara? The Locust God from Littjara with me? So flying, whenever you draw a card, so it ETBs, draws a card, it makes insects. And then you definitely want to run some flicker effects. If it had a flicker effect attached to it, imagine how good that would be. Obviously, the draw and discard's not bad, but that's really funny. I'm trying to think of like what the build really looks like. Obviously, you run all the rituals to fast track Locust God. Is it good? Is it good? Is it actually good, Will? Be honest.
The Locust God just as a commander or the combo or
Well, it's funny because you could technically do like a polymorph thing just to and only run Littjara as your creature. So you can get there really quickly and then just run a lot of enchantment artifact kind of stacks as well as control magic. And then you sort of just draw through your deck. I don't know what is there a combo inherent in this build or are we just playing for value?
Ashnod's Altar Skull Clamp. That's the Locust God combo.
And neither of those are creatures. So
correct.
So we could technically just run Littjara polymorph. I mean, obviously, you would want to kill one of the insects, right? You would make an insect polymorph. You're not gonna do that to Locust God. Although it would be funny. It's return it to its owner at the beginning of the next sentence. Okay, so I could see this actually working. Is this a Thoracle deck though? No, it's not. I don't think it is. I don't think it's a Thoracle deck. I think it's a meme deck really. I think you just make a shit ton of locusts and then you give them haste and then you buff them. I don't know. I don't know what I would want to do. I don't know how I would conclude this deck, but I definitely see like a Littjara playing super well into this. Good call there. I think that might be the best. That might be the best spot for Titan of Littjara. Even better than Elf Ball, honestly. We've cracked the code. Yeah, I honestly think so. I feel like that's pretty good. Whoa, wait. Now I kind of want to know. I kind of want to make a similar Locust God combo deck, but with Niv Mizzet Perun. With Niv Mizzet? Oh. This is an oldie and a goldie, right? Whenever you draw a card, deals 1 damage. I mean, there's a lot of builds for Perun already, I would say, instead of Littjara. Yeah. They have haste. Do they have haste?
The tokens? Yeah, the Locust tokens have haste.
Oh, I didn't even I didn't read that far into it. I just read whenever you draw a card,
Draw,
create a
make
one.
token.
Right. No, that's all that was really relevant to me
Draw,
for a
make
legend.
token. Ooga booga dopamine.
Right, but they're flying in haste.
Yeah.
Will, thank you for clarifying. Okay, so shit, I might make this deck. This just seems dumb enough to work. This seems like a really fun build. This is maybe even better than the Abzan leader I was looking at. Honestly, this is better than the Abzan leader because if all you need to do is crank out Locust God, draw cards, and then reality shift or what is it? What are the ones again? It's
Reality scramble,
scramble.
polymorph, and then transmute or transmogrify or whatever it is.
Blue has a couple that might
Yeah,
be
blue has I think like 2 or 3 that you'd like to run, and I think red has about 2 to 3.
okay. Okay. Anyways,
Also, I looked into it, and from what I've seen on the wiki for the information that we've gotten, it looks that we have been told that uh, Doctor's Companion only can partner with a creature that is a Time Lord Doctor and no other card types. So it's if it's a changeling, it can't companion with it because it's more than just a Time Lord Doctor. So it can only partner with a Time Lord Doctor.
gotcha. Um, all right, all right. Sorry, Orvar. Your dreams are ruined. Maybe one day, Orvar. Just not today. But at any rate, guys, thanks for hanging with us. This has been Untapped, the TCG podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Marlett, your local game guy. That's Will.
So
I definitely enjoyed talking through the set with you guys, both Doctor Who, obviously. We're going to get to more Doctor Who stuff in the not too distant future. I do think Locust God plus Sage of the Falls is a gross combo. I do think that Titan of Lichar could be a fun thing to polymorph into. Um, I can't say how good it will be, but like honestly, those gods are some of the most fun to play in Commander, just because they don't ever really die. You know what I mean? But let me see. Sage of the Falls. Whenever Sage of the Falls or another non-human creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Oh, that's not a bad option either. Oh no, but it's Time of Lichara all the way for me. But any closing thoughts, Will?
nothing exactly. I hope everyone enjoyed the stream.
Me too. Me too, honestly. I'm gonna make sure there's no plastic shards on the ground. If you weren't here for my Card Kingdom unboxing, I really hope there's nothing down there. Future Squidward. But it was good chatting with you guys. Obviously, we'll see you on the next one. I will be making a deck come Wednesday. I don't know if it's Locust God or Narcy. I don't know. I feel like I want to do Locust God now. Just
We did
because.
it, guys. We got him to want to brew blue.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I have the red cards. I don't have any of the blue cards, but I've been wanting to make a fun list, another fun list in paper, and I just haven't found one that really clicks with me. But I like draw, so Locust God might be fun, and it just makes a stupid board and it wins with Skull Clamp. You're just saying things that I enjoy to hear, so. Yeah, I could do that. I could do this. I'd probably have some Underworld Breach line in there too, though. Like, there's no reason, there's no excuse not to play
Yeah.
Underworld Breach. I was just looking to see because I know Anithia is a demigod, but I don't think Narcy is a god right now. She's just a human bard, just a lowly human bard. Go for the gods as well. I agree. I think I will. But guys, I enjoyed chatting with you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Goodbye now.
See ya.
Goodbye. Yes, the Locust God does sound badass. I am not a fan of blue generally. No, I'm not a fan of blue generally either, but I'll make that. Shout out to DJ Scarab God. Yeah. Just mixing those locusts. Oh, I'm sorry. Not that one. You're talking about there is like a DJ there's a DJ looking Scarab God, isn't there? I think it's the yeah. Oh my god, there's an actual DJ Scarab God. Have you seen this? What? Did you know that there was a DJ Scarab God, Will?
I did not.
That's amazing. Okay. Later. See ya. See ya, guys. Many hearts in the chat. Many hearts in the chat. All the hearts.